Hello there. I just wanted to share this quick video with you. This is on this particular unit, the Boss GT10 multi-effects processor. Now it's a very sophisticated unit. There are others that are a little bit more simpler. I've read certain comments in forums and Q&As where people have, had certain issues regarding the unit. And I'll admit, it's actually a really good unit. I mean, when I first got it, I was ready to throw it out the window. I was just really frustrated on how it works. And I mean, I'm still learning about it. But there's certain things that I've kind of discovered on my own, and maybe this video will help you out a little bit. Now, this is not a tutorial in any way. I'm not going to really go through all the effects on this unit and show you how to save patches and all that kind of thing. I mean, if you own it, I'm sure you figured how to do that already. Certain things that I have noticed in terms of experimenting and just playing around with settings. When you're playing particular genres like metal or anything heavier than that, it's all about finding that thick, chunky sound, that really heavy distortion that's gonna really punch your sound through your amplifier. One thing that I did learn on my own was in the preamp section of this unit. You have the gain, and then you have your level volume. And then of course to the left you have your different selections of amplifiers that you might want to use. I picked this particular one. This is kind of like a rectifier, vintage type of head unit. When I'm trying to achieve that metal sound, especially if I wanted to add the overdrive distortion on it, I find the trick is to keep the gain at the minimum in your preamp. So when you go over to your overdrive and distortion, I have my overdrive setting up a little higher. And then of course my tone and effect level setting. And then of course on the EQ, I want to make sure that I have my gain set properly, my highs and lows, and then of course the low mid, and of course my high mid, and then my low and high cut. It's basically more on how you want your distortion to sound. You could basically take any distortion and tweak it any which way you want. Now keep in mind that this processor, just like many other processors out there, have a built-in preamp. Just picture the processor is just like another amp, but without a speaker. But you need some way to amplify it, right? So when you plug it into your amp in particular, you just want to basically run it through the power amp of your amp. Meaning that you just want the straight signal, enough so that you can raise the volume from the amp. What I find useful is taking the clean channel and then taking all the preamp settings out, like the gain, the chorus, the delay out of the amp, because you don't want to oversaturate, just like what I explained about the preamp and the overdrive distortion. So you don't want to have the gain up on the preamp and then have to turn the overdrive turn the overdrive on, because then now you're going to get a lot of hiss. It's going to sound oversaturated, and also creates kind of almost like a hissing noise too. It becomes very annoying. So that's why the preamp and the overdrive, I pretty much balanced it out by turning the gain low on the preamp, but turning it up in the overdrive distortion channel. Now getting back to the amp, you want to basically treat the amp as if it's just a straight power source, meaning that if you were to plug your guitar in directly to the amp without the processor, all you would get is just the straight signal from the guitar. No EQ, no nothing. So now added with the processor, all your EQ settings, your preamp settings, everything is already set into the processor. So now you would just translate the sound, what's in this processor, just coming out of your speaker. Now you can use the EQ settings on your amp channel as well. I like to just use as some added tweaks, like maybe turn the bass up a little bit, or the mids, maybe a little bit of treble, rather than having to just bend down all the time and having to turn the knobs on the process, especially if you're standing. Just running the straight signal Now I'm using this vintage PV trans tube Supreme head. To be honest with you, the natural distortion sound of this amp is not that good. You know, some people might think differently. I'm not really a big fan of it. But I'm basically just using the clean channel of this amp. As you can see, I turned the gain down really low. You know, kept the brightness off, everything. I have some of the EQ set a little bit. So again, basically it's just nothing but straight signal. Now with the processor plugged in there, I'll have a nice, fat, distorted sound that comes out real chunky and, you know, pretty heavy. Well, that's basically it. So all the presets you have in your preamp and your overdrive and your EQ, everything, you know, you can have it just set straight right in your processor and then just run it through a direct signal. And the only reason why I decided to do it that way is, say if I'm playing a different show using a different amp, or if there's a backline or something, or going to a rehearsal studio, I have all the presets I need rather than having to reconfigure it in a different amplifier. So I think this is just the easiest way to do it. Hope that's helpful, and if you have the Boss GT10, you know, you just got to be patient with it, but it is a great sounding processor. So until then, I'll have more videos up for you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.